Hello everyone, welcome to Tactica Imperialis and to today's video. Today is the second part, so to speak, of my thoughts on Warhammer Fest. I realise I said a lot about Age of Sigmar in yesterday's video. I didn't want to go on for 45 minutes doing the whole of Warhammer Fest, and then I went on for 40 minutes just about AOS 2. So you can imagine if I tried to do it all in one video, how much of a disaster that would have been. So in this video I'm going to do my thoughts on everything else at Warhammer Fest. I'm not going to talk about AOS here. I'll put the link in the description to the My Thoughts on playlist if you want to see the previous video with my thoughts on all of AOS 2. So today we get to talk about Titanicus, we get to talk about Sisters of Battle, we get to talk about all sorts of lovely things. I'm going to use the live blog to sort of determine the order of what I talk about because it's just easier than jumping forwards and backwards. It's just easier for me to work downwards. So if something happened really early in the weekend, then that's probably going to get brought up last. I'm not doing it for maybe people stick around to the end because I know the Sister of Battle is near the end, but hey, what can you do? So start off, we'll work from here and go down. So first off is the video game stuff. We got a little bit more of a look into Mechanicus. People were seemingly playing it on the day. It's something that we saw announced quite a while ago now, but it looked interesting, and I'm hoping that they keep pushing with it. I honestly don't really want to say any more on it right now because we haven't got it out, and obviously it's still probably being worked on. But if it worked anything like XCOM crossed with 40k, that would be pretty cool. If it's squad-based combat where you upgrade a team, I'd be down with it. We'll see, and I'm sure if you were at Warhammer Fest, leave a comment and let people know how the game was to play if you did get a chance. We then got to look at this table of ultimate gaming. I actually went and looked up the company that do this to see how it sort of works. They basically create customizable gaming tables where you can add in covers and drink racks, and they come with little slots underneath, and they're quite modular. They do it in different sizes. They are very expensive though. I think the 6x4 table was something in the region of like 800 quid. It was very expensive, but they're doing 40k and AOS custom tables. That's awesome. I don't know how many people will get them, but if you've got that much money lying around and you are a complete hobby nut and you have the space for it, well, you can. That's what the AOS table is going to look like, and the 40k table has the Aquila. We then have Age of Sigmar Champions, which is the card game. This is something that actually looks kind of interesting, so it seems like it's an online-offline card game. I've not looked into it again too hard right now, but I may get a chance to look at it in the future, whether I just go out and buy it or whatever. We'll see. I'll let you know on that one. And then what else do we have? Loot. Lots of lovely loot. There's just reactions. Sorry, I'm just trying to catch myself up on this live blog. So here's just a quick rundown of what we will be discussing in full length as the video goes on. So we talked about Age of Sigmar and the Nighthaunt, the Sacrosanct Chamber, a little bit about the magic. We did that in yesterday's video. We also got Brian Blessed playing Gotrek Gurnison. There's an audio extract in this log, and it's amazing. I think it's really quite awesome. You've got the giant corn dragon, which I'll show as we go down. And we're also getting the official Warhammer podcast, which is called Stormcast, because of course it is. Now, honestly, this is a great idea, the Warhammer community team having their own podcast so that they can just discuss what's going on. I mean, they'll have to be careful how they play it. So if they play it just as an expository of information, where it's just info dump, info dump, info dump, info dump about releases, discussing what's going on with the releases, that might get a little bit stale quite quickly. But if they can mix it up so they have discussions about the topic of the week or the month or whenever they decide to upload them, or touch wood, if they get guests from the community on, well, yeah, that would be awesome, but I'm not holding out any hope for that. I've also got a bunch of other stuff here. Titanicus, Forge World especially, we're very, very busy. Lots of fun stuff. So you've got some Middle-earth models. I haven't played The Hobbit ever. I played the old Lord of the Rings game when that was around. I had a very small amount of Rohan, but I was never that fussed for the Middle-earth games. I'm not going to say the models look bad. The models look pretty good. Like this Minas Tirith warrior here looks pretty good. But it's just something I'm not super fussed about. Then we have the Sacrosanct Chamber. And oh my god, the Sacrosanct Chamber. I've got to skip past them. You've got the Corn Lord on Doom Dragon, the largest kit ever made for Age of Sigmar. Yeah, the biggest Warhammer Age of Sigmar kit ever made. Apparently the rider is something like an ogre in size. He's monstrously huge. I mean, just compute. Wow. Plus, it looks great. Like, I honestly think it is a great looking kit. I don't think I'll be buying one, and I don't know if anyone I know will be buying one, but flip me, it looks great. Flip me. But Forge World have been very, very busy because, does this thing have a name? No, they haven't given it a name here, have they? No. So, we're just, at the moment, we're just calling it the Necron Doombot, and with good reason, because bloody hell, look at it. There's a little size comparison here to a Devastator Marine. So you can sort of see it's, how many Marines is that? 1, 2, 3, about 4 Astartes high, give or take, and wide. Well, I don't even want to know. That model is absolutely massive. Do they give anything sort of like Imperial Knight size crawler? It's just wow. That thing's going to be utterly terrifying to face. I'm not sure I want to face them, but we do have a Necron player in our friendship group, so maybe one day I'll have to fight that thing. We also got the announcement for 40k, the Imperial Armour Talons of the Emperor, which is kind of rip the Custodes Codex. I mean, I know why they're doing this, because the Custodes have some cool stuff, but they don't have enough stuff, and the Sisters of Silence are kind of in the same boat, and yet we got the Custodes Codex anyway. If they'd have given the Custodes Codex, basically given them the Forge World stuff out the gate, I think we wouldn't have had such a bit of a umming and ahhing and mini backlash to the Custodes Codex. It's still a good thing that they're actually going to put them back together, and they said that they're using Forge World Adeptus Custodes, expanded this units for Grey Knights, and standalone Sisters of Silence. So whether the Talons of the Emperor keyword will be a thing to allow you to put them into one army, or whether they'll just have Imperium, I'm not sure. But this is effectively going to serve as your Sisters of Silence Codex and expansion packs for the Grey Knights and the Custodes by the looks of it. And of course, I think that's just a good thing, because the Custodes need more stuff, the Grey Knights getting extra flavour is never a problem, and the Sisters of Silence getting updated for 40k is always good. I'm down. New background and rules for the entirety of Forge World Sisters range, it puts them in 40k. Sub-faction rules for a Coven, allowing them to be an entire army, which is great. And the Grey Knights get new background and rules for their range, new data sheets. Yep, absolutely good with that. And they also gave us the Dreadnought drop pod. I mean, flipping heck, Forge World really pulled all the stops out of Warhammer Fest. They were exceptionally busy. Exceptionally so. Because this is the Dreadnought drop pod. Obviously, you can see it's carrying a Contemptor with change. I never had the old Dreadnought drop pod, but I've been told, we were told on the podcast, that it's the old drop pod couldn't hold even a classic Dreadnought. It was the slightly smaller Forge World Dreadnoughts it could carry, but it had no chance for things like Contemptors or Leviathans, or even, certainly not the new Redemptors. So quite what this can and can't hold. Obviously there's a Contemptor there. If you own a Leviathan Dread, or you own a Redemptor Dread, maybe you'll be able to have a bit of a think about it. Obviously a Redemptor's even is really quite wide, so I don't think that will go. But maybe you could sneak a Leviathan in there, or the other flavours of Contemptor, like the Contemptor Mortis maybe. We shall have to see what rules it's got. And then we go back to 30k. 30k, oh, Anachris Scoria. I know his name, as I couldn't quite remember how it was pronounced. Anachris Scoria. I actually made a video on this guy as part of my Dark Mechanicum lore video quite recently, and the guy's utterly terrifying. And the model really does him justice. I think we saw the model a while ago, but now that we've seen it painted, yeah, it's just a really, really good model. You sort of get the idea that it's the Mechanicus, but it's warped beyond all recognition. It really is the Dark Mechanicum. It's great. And then we also got Genetia Kroll, or Genetia? Genetia? I prefer Genetia, but I think Genetia works just as well. The commander of the Sisters of Silence. Again, I've talked about her in a video of my own on the Sisters of Silence, which I made a long time ago. And I really like the colour scheme that they've gone with here. The face, I don't know, something that feels a bit off with the face, I don't know. But the armour looks good. And the choice of blues and purples that they've applied, I think that's a really nice regal colour scheme. So I'm very much on board. And the pose is great. She's just striding forward as if she just cuts some hapless sod down and is just marching forward to take out the next enemy of the Emperor. It fits her perfectly. I think that's really good for Genetia Kroll. Though I've forgotten, what was her nickname? Oh, I've forgotten her nickname now. Her sort of epithet. It was something quite terrifying, and it was really quite nice. So Genetic Roll looks great. Certainly looks better than her counterpart in the Custodes, that being Constantin Valdor, because as I said before, Constantin Valdor just looks over-designed. Really, really over-designed. I just think it's overdone. Really, just it's too much with Valdor. Genetic Roll is not minimalist, but it's the right amount of adornment for a sort of commander, because you can tell, again, I'll bring up this image again, you can tell she's a commander with all the extra gold trim and the robes and all of that stuff, but it's not gaudy, which I think is a really good thing. So we have the Aurochs Armored Transport for the Solar Auxilia. Yeah, they sort of call it, well, it's a Predator crossed with an Aurochs. Does it have a name? No. They haven't given it its name yet, but yeah, I don't want to fight that. That's a lot of las cannons. I don't want to fight that. We then have some Alpha Legion Praetors, one in armor, one in Terminator armor, one in power armor. Both of them look quite typical to regular Praetors because I have the Thousand Suns equivalent to the power armored model, and again, it's the hand across the body drawing the sword. So that pose for a Praetor-esque model is kind of logical. I think I use mine as a Legion champion in a command squad rather than a Praetor because I use Ahriman and I have Magnus. But that pose seems about right. And the same with the guy in Cataphractii armor. It reminds me of the Ultramarines one from the Battle of Calth, where he's just got the gun outstretched and his other weapon down by his side, which is the Chain Fist. I mean, the Chain Fist is up and that power sword is down, but it's the principle of the thing, really. And they do look great, it's just they are drawing on some of the older models as well. And that's not a problem at all. It's just an observation. And I do like the helms. The helms look great. And then we also got the Mechanicum Knight Acastus. What if you combine the Knight Porphyrion with even more barely understood and horrifying techno-weaponry? Oh dear. That... Is it just me that gets Brass Scorpion vibes off of that? Like with the whole back plating? I don't know. I just get, like, I get the feeling that if you changed out those front weapons for, like, claws and then knelt it down, you'd really get Brass Scorpion vibes off of that. And I'm sure someone, if they felt like converting it to put it on its knee with two clawed weapons, could really create some sort of feral war beast that if you then were able to mount a tail weapon would really work as a Brass Scorpion conversion. I don't know. I mean, I have faced a Brass Scorpion and I know they're not that similar, but it was just something that I think I saw this morning and I was like, ooh, that's an interesting idea. I don't know. I'm not a very good designer, but if you think I've got any point, let me know. We also get the Proteus pattern Landspeeder, the classic OG Landspeeder, and yeah, it looks exactly like an OG Landspeeder. I'm not a huge fan of the modern era Landspeeder. It's completely fine. I've got no problem with it. I'm not going to write home and say, oh my god, it's an amazing model, but it is what it is. Do I prefer the new, well, the old/new to the 40k model? It's just, they're just different variants. I think the Landspeeder is just a model that I just look at and I just go, It's a good design. It is a really good design, and it sort of makes sense that it would have been updated since this point to have more armor and the like to protect the engines and stuff. But it doesn't wow me the same way that the Landspeeder doesn't wow me, and this doesn't do anything to make me like Landspeeders anymore. And then the biggest thing out of Forge World, because we're still on Forge World here, Book 8. Cygnus, Chondax, the Blood Angels, the White Scars, the Alpha Legion, the Space Wolves, the Ruin Storm. Oh yes. This book is long overdue. Because the Blood Angels are one of the most iconic Space Marine forces in all of Warhammer. 40k or 30k. The red armor, the wing jump packs, the Death Company in the modern era, they are iconic. Sanguinius is one of the first names that you'll come to remember if you study ancient 40k history, or if you look into the Space Marine. Sanguinius is one of the names that will stick with you the fastest. Sanguinius is an icon and a legend, both amongst old players and new, or at least I think he is. Like, Sanguinius is always someone that I've admired pretty much since I've heard of him. And doing my research for the Legion's lore series a while ago, I just gained even more respect for him. So the Blood Angels finally get their time to shine in 30k. We'll get to see a bit more into Azkalon, Raldoron, how the Red Thirst sort of first appeared and how it was dealt with. And we've seen bits of that before, but you get a proper look into the Red Thirst like we did with the Flesh Change and the Curse of the Wolfen, perhaps. And that's going to be great. Honestly, I'm really glad we're getting this, because when I was doing the Legions lore series, the Legions like the White Scars and the Blood Angels, you could tell you were missing their early history a lot. And that's what these books have been great for, is the early history. Not so much their actions in the Heresy, because they're sort of well detailed in the novels, or their actions just before the Heresy perhaps, but it's their early era actions and their sort of early, just after Primarch actions. Those are the sorts of things that these books are really good for, and so, as I always recommend getting them if you want to learn about the Legiones, the Legiones Astartes. I know some people don't like it when I say Legiones, but hey, whatever. Plus the White Scars, the other Legion getting a lot of focus here. The White Scars suffer from basically being there. That's the problem the White Scars have, is they're just there. Jagtai could be an interesting character, but he hasn't had the same character development as some of the others. Certainly hasn't had the same volume of novels about him, though he has got a new one quite recently. And this hopefully will give the White Scars that flavour and that character back, other than just being dudes on bikes, gotta go fast, lol. I don't know. I think that would be nice. Plus a bit more flavour on the Alpha Legion and Space Wolves. I mean, I'm a Thousand Suns player, I'm biased against the Space Wolves, but I'm not going to complain. And getting demons into the game is probably a very good thing as well. We'll also talk about demonology, that's over on this third tab, and the schemes of the War Master. So Cygnus was a way for the Blood Angels to be distracted, as was the Ruin Storm and all sorts of other things, so that's a really good choice as well. Rules for Psi Arcana, rather, it's not Psycana, Psi Arcana. That'll be interesting as well, not sure what that's going to entail. Yeah, there's a lot from Forge. Forge would have been very busy, and I'm not complaining, and then we've just got some more fun stuff. Specialist games, Blood Bowl get a Dark Elf team, not complaining about that. I mean, I play Dark Elves in Fantasy, and I'll be playing them in Legends. If we play Warhammer Legends at all, I'll play Dark Elves. So this might be another reason for me to think about Blood Bowl, because Blood Bowl is one of those games where I kind of want to, but then don't care enough to play it. And that's the problem I have with a lot of specialist games. They're cool, and I want to look into them, but I also don't care enough to do so. And it's the same with Shadespire, it's the same with Necromunda. I get the feeling it will be the same with Titanicus. They're interesting games, and they're interesting concepts, but I don't have the same reason to commit to them or want to really go at them on my own, because I need other people at home to play along with me and that sort of thing. So it's good that this is happening, and if we ever get round to doing Blood Bowl, I probably will play the Nagaroth Nightmares. So we've got the typical stuff here. They've got their specialists, which is the Witch Elf and the Assassins. Yep, all lots of fun stuff. And the Trolls are back. Oh, lovely Trolls. Human teams. New pitches, certainly not going to complain about that. I mean, they don't really look like a pitch. I like this one, by the way. I don't know how big these Blood Bowl boards are, but that could be quite fun for playing a little skirmish game with the Ideneth. I don't know. That could be fun for a little Ideneth skirmish game. Continuing with specialists, we then have Necromunda. So some of this we've seen before. The Bounty Hunter, certainly recognise her. I can't get this all on the screen, I apologise for that. You've got the big Goliath, Crocodile Thingy-McJib, and the big giant rats. Bunch of weapon kits, we knew that was coming, and we also know that House Cawdor are on there, where I think Vansar are next to join us, because we have Goliath and Escher straight out the box. We then got Orlok, Vansar are quite recent, and Cawdor are next. I'm not an expert on Necromunda. I will do a lore video on Necromunda one day. I don't know if I'll do the gangs individually, but I will do a lore video on Necromunda, and that will be a good chance for me to flesh out my knowledge. So these guys are sort of improvised scrappers and that sort of thing. That's an interesting option. And then we have Titanicus. Sorry, I realise I'm talking really, really quickly as I make this video. I probably should slow down, and so I'll try and slow down, but I know there's a lot to get through. So, Adeptus Titanicus, epic but bigger. So, Epic Armageddon was a really popular specialist game back in the day. People have been clamouring for its return nearly as loudly as Battlefleet Gothic, maybe even louder, or Gorka Morka, and now it's back. And it's much bigger than Epic, because Epic was a game where the models were really, really, really small. That you could, like, Titans were not huge at all. I'll come back to those in a second, but just for a sense of, okay, I don't have the images to hand here, I thought I did. But for a sense of scale, the Knights which are the models sort of a little bit down here, these Imperial Knights, they're about the size of an Imperial Guardsman, a little bit taller, a little bit bulkier, so probably, I'm thinking they'll be slightly bigger than the Space Marines, sort of like bulked up Space Marines, maybe sort of on the line with the bigger Primaris Marines, certainly not on the scale of a Dreadnought, but they look cool. The Titans also look amazing. This is the first, well, it's not the first Warlord we've got one from Forge World, but Warlords, Reavers, I'm told Warhounds are also coming. And they promise that they're going to be in, where is it? Intricate, ultra-detailed, highly posable kits. And that's, I'm hoping, going to mean that the Titans are very convertible, because the models at the moment don't look super posed. Like, they all look to be in one static pose for the sake of the imagery. But hopefully they are quite customizable. You can have Titans that are sort of walking forwards, or that are firing one weapon up to one side, or a Knight with its shield arm up, or you can make to have the shields up effect. Something like that, I think that's going to be very important. And I've also, I think I remember seeing on someone who posted from the event that the main kits are going to be plastic with resin upgrades as time goes on. The game at the moment is set in 30k. You saw the box art up here. It's the Horus Heresy. But they are planning to carry that forward into the modern era as time goes by. So we'll hopefully see Chaos Titans, Xenos Titans as time goes on, which is lovely. Then we've got the Nighthawks, who still look amazing. And finally, we get to this. Oops, that's the wrong one. We get to the Plastic Sister of Battle CG render. The Plastic Sister announcement at Adepticon basically broke the internet for a few hours. It was exceptionally popular, and rightly so. So it should be, because the Adeptus Sororitas are very, very popular. And Plastic Sister Battle is also kind of a long-running, almost inside joke in the community. Well, at least you'll get it before Plastic Sister Battle, or something like that. I don't know what all the inside jokes were, but it was a bit of a running joke. But now that they've promised to do it, and this is the sort of model quality we're working with, I'm very excited to see how the Sister Battle model range looks by the end. And they've based this render off a very good piece of artwork. I can't get it on the full screen, damn it. Okay, but that artwork is the first piece of Sororitas artwork I ever saw, because I saw that in the 4th edition rulebook that somebody gave to me after 5th edition came out, just so I could do a bit of reading on it. So I did. And this was the first sister I ever saw, so I've got a bit of nostalgia for that particular model. And I think they've done a very good job of recreating it. Obviously, some things have been rescaled. The cross thing, it's sort of like a Templar cross on her waist. The grenades are a bit bulkier. You've got all of the extra stuff in there, and I think it's a really, really good model. And the base, especially. I really like the base. I really, really like the base. I don't expect that the entire Sororitas range has a base of that sort of high quality, which makes me think this is going to be some sort of leader, though I'm not an expert on the sister, so I wouldn't want to say whether this is a sister superior, a canoness, or whatever. I don't want to sort of put a guess on it. Plus, it might be that as the range gets a redesign, whilst it maintains the classic imagery, some things do get reworked to make things slightly different. But you've got the Fleur-de-Lis iconography. Fleur-de-Lis? I prefer Fleur-de-Lis. On the shoulder plates, on the bolt, you've got inquisitorial symbols. It really feels like if you showed a casual that image and said, "What is that?" they'd say that's the Sister of Battle. Now, it's instantly recognizable, and I can't wait to see what the rest of the range looks like. I don't know if the plastic renders that they make will be quite as detailed or even more detailed than the CG renders that they've made, but I think that if this is the quality we can expect for the Sisters of Battle, then good times lie ahead for that range. And I hope that when they come out toward the end of the year, or I think it's at the end of the year? I think so. Was it at the end of this year or toward the beginning of next year? Whenever they come out, the Sisters of Battle will be a very popular choice. So there you go. That is my thoughts on the everything else of Warhammer Fest. I don't think I've missed anything. Yep, everything else down at the bottom there is AOS 2. So, what do you think? Was it a good Warhammer Fest for everyone other than Age of Sigmar? Because 40k has put out a fair bit of decent stuff. 30k is getting its next book and some extra models as well. and obviously the Sisters of Battle and specialist games especially. I'll say that 5 times fast. Specialist games really got a good push this year, with Titanicus getting announced, Blood Bowl getting an expansion, and the what's the word I'm looking for? Necromunda extra stuff as well. Plus, they're also looking into, well, all sorts of other things. So I think this is a really good Warhammer Fest, and I'm really excited for this year in the hobby. If this is the tone that GW are going with and pushing for the next year, I cannot wait to see what we get, because if they're showing this much to us now, hopefully as that all comes out by the end of the year and all the sort of things that are happening, yeah, it's just a really good time. And I've said this before, this is one of the best times to be a hobbyist. Certainly in my 10 years in the hobby, this is probably one of the best times to be a hobbyist. Because while, okay, it's expensive, and yes, paintbrushes are actually about to go up in price, we got that announcement a couple of days ago, it is expensive to get into this hobby right now, but it is so rewarding to be part of, and I hope that you guys feel the same way. But let me know what you think of Warhammer Fest. Was it a good show? Was it something missing that you'd like to have seen? Would you like to see the next set of 40k Codex announcements, for example? Or maybe just more stuff for 40k in general? Just let me know your thoughts overall. I'll be very interested to see what you have to say. We can have a debate about it in the comments as always. But now though, thank you very much for watching. This has been Tactica Imperialis, and this has been my thoughts on Warhammer Fest. And I'll see you all again. Bye for now.